Hey guys, welcome back to Coach's Corner. This is our fifth and final countdown of our top 10 errors that endurance athletes make countdown. So here we go. Number 2 on our errors list is not incorporating B races, C races, and time trials throughout the season. These are great opportunities to practice our racing strategy before we get to that A race or our gold standard race where we're really trying to look for that PR or that big placing at a major meet. So we want to make sure that we're covering those strategies before we get to that line on race day of our A race. So if you have the opportunity to sign up for B races and C races throughout the season, these are a good opportunity because they more closely simulate what the race day of your A race is going to be like as compared to a time trial where you may be out there all by yourself. But both can be incorporated into your training and be effective. Now, when I say a B race or a C race, this is often a race that you aren't fully tapered for. So you're not necessarily looking for a big PR out of that race, but rather you may be trying to target a specific strategy during that race. So for example, you may be looking at what you eat the night before, you may be adjusting something with your warm up, or maybe you're looking at your pacing or your heart rate zones that you should be at different points during the race. Or perhaps there's a point in the race where you always seem to fumble or tighten up and you want to work specifically on working through that point. Those types of races are a great opportunity to do that and work out any kinks and make those adjustments before your big race. These can also serve as a good point in the season or point along your training to reassess where you're at from a fitness standpoint. If you remember earlier, I said that we should be training at where your fitness is now and not necessarily where we want our fitness to be at the end of the year. This is because we want to make sure that we're working at the proper intensities. So by reassessing using these time trials or these B races and C races throughout the year, we're able to adjust those workout paces. So those tempo runs, threshold runs, even recovery runs, as well as interval workouts to make sure that they're properly reflecting us getting fitter throughout the season and getting closer to that goal race pace come the end of the year. So it's important to make those adjustments as we go so that we're not still training at a pace that's well below what our current fitness level is now that we've improved our fitness. Typically, I recommend to people that if you have 1 or 2 A races throughout the year, you may have another 2 to 3 B or C races throughout the year, or another 1 or 2 time trials placed in throughout the season to make those adjustments and fine-tune things. Leading up to an A race, you typically want to have that B race be anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks leading up to that race so that it gives you ample time to make any adjustments that you may need and implement them before you go ahead and taper back down for that A race. So make sure you give yourself ample time between that B race and A race to make any adjustments to your fitness, paces that we're doing in practice, as well as just general strategy things for race day. And this leads us to number 1 on our errors list. Now, I hear endurance athletes complain all the time about fueling during the race. I am one included. I have seen a registered dietitian that has assisted me with how I can better prepare myself for racing and fueling simultaneously. Too often, endurance athletes claim that they simply just can't tolerate things when they're working hard, like in a race setting. Now, this may be true for some individuals, but for many, it's simply that we didn't train our gut, didn't train our stomach to be ready to ingest the fuel that we're giving it on race day. Just like we train our muscles, we also need to train that gut of ours. So make sure that we're adequately able to absorb the nutrients, that glucose, the electrolytes, and the hydration that we need to perform well on race day. Race courses also have set nutrition that they're going to be offering at aid stations. So it's important that we're practicing with the fuel that's going to be offered and not necessarily just any old fuel we find in our cabinets. This is important because our body may respond differently to different types of sugars as well as different product brands. So make sure you're looking up what the course is going to offer. And if that doesn't suit you well, then make sure that you're providing your own nutrition, whether it's through salt tabs or gels or powders, anything that you're able to carry on you, and you're practicing with those specifically. So when you're using these in practice, you want to simulate race conditions as best as you can. So if you know you're going to be racing on a hot, humid, middle of the afternoon, then you better make sure that you're practicing your nutrition on a workout that's in that similar condition. So at the heat of the day, perhaps on a humid day, maybe you're doing a sweat test on that day to figure out how much electrolytes you may be losing in any given hour. All of these things need to be simulated to what it's going to be like for race conditions. So that also means duration of the workout, intensity of the workout. We want to make sure that we're practicing our fuel with our higher intensity days, as well as our longer duration days that may be at a little bit lower intensity, depending on the race that you are completing in for your A race. So don't miss out on the valuable opportunity to practice our fueling pre-race day so that we can avoid that bonking or just simply underperforming from where we want to be. There you guys have it. That was our top 10 errors that endurance athletes make countdown. Feel free to comment below if you have any additional errors that maybe you have made over the course of your years in the sport. I'm sure we've all made many, and we can all learn from each other. And that's how we get better, is by learning from mistakes that we make, as well as maybe mistakes that other people have made as well. Hopefully you guys have taken away some good pointers for your training and for your racing. Thank you guys so much for watching our top 10 countdown. We'll cover a brand new topic next week right here at Coach's Corner.